Welcome to CanU Imagine, a podcast dedicated to sharing the stories of hope, confidence, and action in Winnipeg's youth. My name is Daniel Reimer, and it is my honor to introduce the first episode of CanU Imagine. But first, for those of you listening that may be unfamiliar with CanU Canada, well, CanU Canada, also known as the University of Can, is a Winnipeg-based charity committed to inspiring and connecting Winnipeg youth with post-secondary students in mutually transformative mentorships and educational enrichment experiences. Founded in 2011, CanU began as a pilot program with 15 kids with the sole purpose of inspiring hope and confidence through on-campus experiences. Since then, CanU has grown to nearly 800 kids between grades 5 and 12 from every corner of Winnipeg. Prior to its transition to virtual experiences in 2020, CanU and its 1,000 university volunteers and stakeholders have facilitated a truly comprehensive on-campus experience for a diverse and growing group of Winnipeg kids that may otherwise not have had such an opportunity. Whether it be through hands-on medical simulations alongside Manitoba's future doctors or arguing mock trials in front of Manitoba judges, CanU kids are given an opportunity to see their own possibilities through a diverse range of after-school experiences. I am joined today by none other than the founder and executive director of CanU Canada, Roger Berrington. How are you doing, Roger?
Oh, Daniel, after that introduction, I am doing fantastic. That was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. As you may not know, Roger will be joining me as host of the CanU Imagine podcast. And I, for one, cannot be more excited to share some of the stories of CanU's past and what we're currently doing at CanU. How about you?
Oh, I'm super excited. This is a dream come true. You know, it's hard to believe that CanU's been around celebrating 10 years coming up soon. Like you said, inspiring stories of amazing kids from all across Winnipeg and even from other parts of the province. And but, you know, just for our listening audience, I think it's important to introduce Daniel. And so Daniel's been a huge part of CanU for the last several years, 5, 6, 7 years. Daniel, as a law student in his second year, became the coordinator of our brand new CanU Law program. And so kids had the amazing experience of coming to the university and being mentored and schooled in the practice of law by University of Manitoba law students. And Daniel's continued to be involved in CanU in a variety of ways, including serving on our junior board and being a practicing lawyer, and now he's our creative director. It's just an amazing thing. And thank you, Daniel, for taking on this project and for putting your heart and soul into it.
Absolutely. It's funny. Once you start to become involved with CanU, there's something that just pulls you back into it. You can't get enough. So let's go back to what CanU is. Why is what CanU does important?
Oh, wow. What a question. You know, Daniel, to be honest, 10 years ago when we had this vision of introducing kids to the dream of a post-secondary education and providing them with mentors and university students who would be able to walk alongside of them in an unfamiliar place to help them think about what their future dreams and potential might be, we really had a desire to help a few kids. And the why has kind of emerged, but really at the beginning of it all, we wanted to inspire Winnipeg kids in hope and confidence by seeing possibilities and seizing opportunities. We ended up with these little, I would say they were given to us, these ideas of what would be foundational to a kid's development starting in grade 5. And it's emerged over time. It's become more sophisticated. We've been giving other angles and other insights into what we're being asked to do for our city and beyond.
Going even deeper into your personal reasons, even, is there a reason why your work with CanU is important to you personally?
Oh, well, you know, Daniel, I've given this a lot of thought. You know, I don't know, at first I wasn't sure why I was being tapped on the shoulder to be involved in this. But I professionally, I worked with university students for many years, and I had the amazing experience of seeing these young leaders in action. And when a friend of mine started an after-school program in Toronto, in the densest, most densely populated part of our country, for newcomers to Canada, and she recognized that kids were learning English and they didn't have a place to play, and they were playing on parking lots in between sky rises. And something occurred to me that, Winnipeg has some challenges with our children and their futures. So I asked Sylvia if I could start one of these after-school running and reading programs in Winnipeg, and not knowing much about the school system or about needs or about even cultures, I embarked on this little bit of a journey, and for 5 years I helped launch some of these after-school programs in 3 Winnipeg schools and 3 northern communities in Manitoba. And it was an amazing experience for me to learn how to relate to the school system, how to include university students as volunteers in these after-school programs in these neighborhoods. But really, that was the kind of, in addition to being an end in itself, it was also the birthplace for what was to come, which was CanU. As I've reflected on my role in CanU, I realized about 5 years ago that being a child in a single-parent family myself, when my parents chose to separate ways when I was 9 years old, I was an only child. I was with my mom. It was a time when divorce was not that common, and I was struggling. I was struggling as a young boy to know if I was loved or if I had anything to offer, and I was not realizing it at the time. I was looking for someone who believed in me, who thought I was worthy of effort or resource or opportunity. And so, fast forward many years, I realized that deep inside of me, I was starting CanU to reach Roger, and other little 9-year-old boys and girls who would benefit so much from having adults believe in them, and to have an opportunity that wouldn't be available to them otherwise. And so kind of cool to come full circle to reach the 9-year-old that still lives in me, that wants to be believed in and to be filled with hope and confidence.
Absolutely. And that's such a powerful story. I don't think those stories are told enough, because I hear that all the time. And I have a similar story where, growing up on, welfare, social assistance, single mom, and not really understanding, what my possibilities were, not really understanding that there was something more than the factory that my older brother worked at for my future, right? And it really wasn't until, some role models came forward and, saw my potential, saw my possibility. Those possibilities weren't necessarily, cure cancer or go to space or anything like that. It was saw possibilities that were beyond my current trajectory.
Wow.
And it's those investments from those community advocates that I felt really made a difference in my life, and really makes me aware of the difference that's needed in a lot of kids' lives regarding that.
Yeah, that's so true, Daniel, and I really appreciate you sharing that with. I know that your story, and it's a powerful one, and congratulations to you for being that child who persevered and took the opportunities that came your way, and believed and trusted those adults to kind of point you in that direction.
As a general community looking in, you're hoping that those role models are going to be positive, but they aren't always.
No.
And it's so important that, for me at least, to invest my time in ensuring that those positive role models exist, and that there is that opportunity for those kids. It's so important. So let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
So you had mentioned we're talking about 10 years of CanU. That's That's not insignificant. That's a big milestone. 10 years from what I was talking about earlier, 15 kids to nearly 800 kids. That doesn't just happen for every charity. That doesn't just happen to every person that says, I want to help kids. What do you think CanU did differently in those 10 years?
Well, first of all, there are so many organizations out there that do amazing work, and CanU has listened to them and learned from them and partnered with them along the way. But I think one thing that we actually was a part of our not only our early success in growth, but also in what became our DNA, what became our organizational culture, was constraints, obstacles. Even in that first year, we had no money, we had nothing. We had an idea, and we had 3 school friends. 3 schools that I had.
Who were those schools?
Those 3 founding schools are Shaughnessy Park School, Sister McNamara School, and William White School.
Incredible.
Yeah, and they're amazing schools, and they had amazing principals back when we started, and it was because I had developed a connection with those schools through this running and reading program that I was involved in, and I got to know the system, but I also got to know the leadership and the school division, and those partners also were a part of this believing in what this might be. And, at any turn in the road, I could have been easily convinced that this idea wouldn't have worked, but, when I was courageous enough to share it with somebody, whether it was these principals or some of the teachers we were working with, the response was so positive that it emboldened me to kind of keep going. And there was an early story, Daniel, when my son played fairly high-level hockey, and we were at a hockey rink for a hockey camp that Brent was involved in, and some of my friends were there with their sons, friends of my son, and we were standing in the stands, and one of my friends, his name is Jay, and another named Paul, and this is before CanU even got started. We're standing in the stands, and we're just chatting while our kids are playing hockey. And we started talking, for some reason, I still don't know why, but we started talking about the idea of CanU. And Jay, I'll never forget this, great guy.
This is Jay Crowley, right?
Jay Crowley, yep. And Jay is one of these quiet founding friends of CanU, and very, very significant. So we're standing in the stands. He's asking me some questions. I'm telling him kind of what the idea was. And Jay looked at me and said, Roger, this is such an amazing idea. How much is it going to cost you to do this pilot year? And I hadn't given much thought to that. I was just prepared to try and borrow a school bus to get the kids around and ask a few people to buy some meals for the kids. It was really duct tape and baler twine, So I said, Jay, I think we could do a really great job with this program over the fall and winter terms at the university for about $10,000. And Jay said to me, Roger, I'm in. Who do I write the check to? And that was the beginning of CanU. We needed a friend like Jay who believed in what we were doing and would help us cover some of those early costs. So that was one of the early stories, amazing, in a hockey rink.
CanU, from my experience, is held together by a little bit more than duct tape and baler twine in 2021. But it never ceases to amaze me at how efficiently and lean CanU can run. Because as I discussed earlier, we're talking 1,000 volunteers and stakeholders. These could be faculty members, these could be university students, but that's really the lifeblood of what makes CanU go, right? Or gifts in kind from the university, or from just partners that see the difference that CanU's making and want to be a part of that. It's incredible because you've gone from that $10,000 pilot program to essentially doing the same thing, really focusing on the donated passions and time of so many stakeholders. And that's what really, really amazes me about CanU.
Well, Daniel, it's a super important thing. And again, this is one of those emergent principles that I was talking about. That we didn't realize we weren't aware of all that was going on underneath that we were being asked to do for our city. But one of the early lessons was that as we recruited brilliant university students to be those early volunteers, because we didn't have any money to buy any staff, we were all volunteers at that point. I was the volunteer executive director for 8 years of CanU, and we wanted to do charitable work differently. We wanted to do it super efficiently and super effectively. We thought that there was a way to accomplish great things where it wasn't just one party benefiting, but I love the fact that you recognize the term mutually transformative, because it truly is. And early in those days, we recruited university volunteers to be those mentors and those learning enrichment kind of facilitators. But we didn't realize the benefit that they would be receiving. And the feedback we got early on was, we're getting more out of this than the kids themselves. We're learning so much. We're having an opportunity to hone our leadership skills, to serve our community conveniently right on campus, to learn how to communicate and teach the things that they were learning. So the nutrition students designed and led our nutrition program. The track and field athletes designed and led our track program. The law students designed and led our law program. That became the model for CanU. And so not only did the kids have these great experiences, but the university students really, as young 20-somethings, cut their teeth in community service, broadening their worldviews, developing professional skills, having some of their worldviews shaped and enhanced, and it all happening conveniently right on campus. Never mind the resume hit that those students would get. So those are some of the early lessons. We didn't start out with that plan. That became apparent as we went on. Same with the partnerships with the university. They wanted to grow in their ability to serve our community, and we provided them with the opportunity to do so in exchange for the use of their facilities. So the University of Manitoba, I just need to commend them for their forward thinking and their generosity by providing CanU with not only all of the lab space and gym space and classrooms, but also providing CanU with some office space. And so we are able to proudly say that we are in partnership with post-secondary institutions and don't spend a cent of donor or sponsor funds on rent.
That's incredible. And that helps function in that lean capacity where you're not dealing with overhead. What CanU really has and has invested really heavily in is volunteer capital. And you have volunteer capital coming out the wazoo, right? I think CanU just recently had its mentor volunteer applications go through, right?
Yep.
And not everyone that applies to volunteer becomes a mentor necessarily, right? So there is a huge demand to be a volunteer, and it makes sense why. It's an incredible opportunity.
Our staff, we have this amazing staff team. Josephine and Angelica and Brittany lead the charge, and they have this high value on creating a prestigious volunteer experience for university students, and we want everybody to have the chance. We want everybody to have that developmental opportunity, but some people just aren't quite ready, or we don't have enough spots for everybody who volunteers. And I know that sounds silly for so many organizations that are stretched and don't have enough volunteers to run their programs, but we find ourselves in a pretty special place, and we're very, very grateful for it. The other thing about our volunteer approach with young people like university students is we kind of see this as a long-term impact on society. We believe we're giving young people the chance to become future leaders and community changers as they grow in influence, as they enter their professional lives. So we believe that great things are happening not only now on campus, in the kids and in our volunteers, but in the future through these kids who are going to become amazing and who already are becoming amazing leaders, and of course our alumni group of volunteers.
that always strikes me as amazing. CanU's ability to focus on why it's doing what it's doing, not necessarily the what and how, and being able to adapt quickly, to be able to find ways to inspire hope and confidence, whether it's on campus, whether it's on Zoom, wherever it is. So we talked a little bit about 10 years ago. We talked a little bit about today. Let's talk 10 years in the future. We're celebrating CanU's 20th anniversary. Wow. What has CanU accomplished?
Oh boy, I hope we continue to listen to what is happening in us and around us, so that we continue to adapt to what the world needs us to do to inspire kids in all kinds of ways. Hope and confidence are two, Daniel, of what are 4 positive psychological capacities. Research shows that if a human is growing in hope, growing in confidence, some would say efficacy, resilience, and optimism, there's nothing that can stop that person from excelling, and so we, in addition to the incredible robotics programs and science programs and dentistry and occupational therapy and nursing and all the amazing things we have, underneath all of it is an effort to encourage kids to grow in hope, efficacy, confidence, resilience, and optimism. And that can't be done in a classroom. That has to be modeled, that has to be nurtured, that has to be believed by everybody in the organization in order for it to happen. And so, I've often thought of this for ourselves. CanU needs to live by its own motto. CanU needs to see possibilities, and CanU needs to seize opportunities. If we're not doing that organizationally, what right do we have to presume to encourage kids to do that? So CanU as an organization has an obligation to think big and to see possibilities, and when they come our way, to seize.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. So, Roger, we've got a guest coming on. Could you tell us a little bit about this guest that's going to be joining us?
Oh, would I ever love to. So 10 years ago, I had partnerships with 3 Winnipeg schools. We mentioned them earlier. And in each of those schools were some champions. And, one of my observations in just this whole process was seeing how many incredible teachers and administrators are active in the public school system. And part of what CanU, I think, does kind of offhandedly is encourage these teachers to say, you know what, you're not alone. You're not alone in fact, you every day you bring it for these kids, and CanU once a week, facilitates or comes alongside of what you're doing daily, and we offer a little dose of encouragement. But those early teachers, and I'm going to give them a shout out right now. Debbie Medeiros at Shaughnessy Park School, she still is a CanU lead teacher at Shaughnessy Park 10 years later. Like, that is a statement in and of itself. And Dawn Tarnowski, who is so foundational at Winnipeg White School, and she's now retired, but she was an amazing, such a strong advocate for kids. And then our first teacher rep at Sister Mac School was a beautiful woman that we're going to have a conversation with tonight named Mercy Sackey. And you will see Mercy believes in kids and believes in future. She has just such an infectious enthusiasm for believing in kids. A perfect CanU teacher partner.
I can't wait. I think this is going to be a great conversation. I'm looking forward to giving yourself and Mercy a chance to reconnect, and I can't wait to hear her stories. So after the break, we'll have a chat with Mercy.
Thanks, Daniel. I'm looking forward to it.
They may not have had previous exposure to post-secondary education and don't even know what the opportunities are. And so through CanU, they get a little taste of everything, and it helps them become more confident and know that they're able to achieve all of the things that we show them to.
My time at CanU has definitely helped me grow as a person and realize my potential. Before I started CanU, I honestly wasn't a super motivated person, and I didn't really have like plans to go to college because I didn't really see like the point. But now like I definitely want to go to university just from being exposed through CanU to all like the different careers and like areas of study I could go into from like university. Now it just seems like a no-brainer to me. I feel like a lot of people view leadership as like creating a path and having other people follow you, but to me it's more like collaborating with people and like providing others the opportunity to speak who might not necessarily have the same voice that you do.
You can't help but feel hope. You can't help but feel a confidence in the future, seeing these kids, these youth overflowing with potential and confidence and curiosity, and having a program that facilitates that confidence and curiosity and helps it grow and helps it flourish and gives it a playground to truly develop. You can't help but have hope in the future.
Absolutely. So we already did a little bit of an introduction before, but this is the first ever podcast that we've ever done. So forgive us. We're a little nervous. We're a little green, but Roger keeps saying we couldn't ask for a better first guest.
And you know what? This is amazing because from the onset, the first CanU, I was one of the teachers. So I started with CanU from day one. So it's a privilege to be the first person interviewed because I was right in there with Roger. Yes. Yeah.
So how did you hear about CanU at first? Like, were you friends with Roger beforehand? Did you just happen upon it? How did it happen?
Well, we had a program, start to finish. I was running a program at Sister Mac, start to finish program, and it's after school program, and Roger was one of the leaders. They're very influential, very dedicated. He was right on the floor with me, planning and setting up, and every evening for almost 85 to 90 kids in a gym. And so we built that relationship right from there. And then when CanU started, he came to me and said, Mercy, I wanted to be on board with it. And I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
I couldn't say no.
Well, you should have seen Mercy in action with those 90 kids in that Sister Mac gym. I mean, it was such a beautiful sight. Kids from all over the world, 50 different cultures represented in, traditional dress, and everybody loves and so filled with energy. And Mercy was that leader in the midst of all that beautiful chaos, in the gym. And I saw her heart for kids, and I saw, how much she believed in what I believed in and what we believed in, which is giving kids these opportunities, and not only opportunities, but what was underneath them, as we've talked about, getting it at the other level of it's much more about hope. It's much more about confidence. It's people believing in you. And so Mercy was one of those first three partner teachers, and the principal, Kim Midford, just an amazing leader. So we got off to a great start there in Sister Mac, one of Winnipeg's great schools. So those were fun days. And really that first pilot project, we had 5-6 kids from Sister Mac, and we only had a few kids from around the city, and Mercy was so patient with us trying to design how to do this when we had never done it before. And we picked, and she of course nominated and helped us select the right kids for those early years, and it was awesome.
Yes, it was. It was, and you know what? It was difficult to pick up few because the need in my building at that time, the need in the community, Roger, is so much. And you asked how we met and why, and I'm just going to go right there why I said yes. When you asked me at that time, I was a teacher. I was busy. I was running after school program. I had 4 children. I had family that I could attend to, but I know the purpose behind this CanU. When he shared with me, it lined up with my value, line up with the purpose. And as an immigrant in this country, sometimes it can be very lonely. And I came here as an adult. I already graduated when I came here, and even then, it was very difficult. It could be lonely, and figuring out things. You have to have somebody to show you the path, and to have CanU at that time, and Roger showed me how it looks like. Also, my building have majority was newcomers. I was an EAL support teacher, so I worked directly with the EAL, students, and the need was right in front of me, and I could relate to that. And so the kids need uncles and aunties that we left back home. You had community, you had people around. You just everybody takes care of everybody. It takes a village to raise a child. That's our motto. To come to Canada and leave these kids, leaving their uncles and aunties, and come here in apartment with not knowing anybody left and right could be very, very lonely. The families are busy looking for a job to feed their kids. There's nobody home. There's hardly anybody home. They needed the connection. They needed after school program. They needed that light, someone to show them. And furthermore, not just after school program in the building, but taking them to a higher place where their foot would never have stepped on. Who knows University of Manitoba? Who takes their kids there? An immigrant knowing the place? No. So it took that vision that he had shared with me that day, just resonate with me, and I never regret a second contributing to CanU, and I'm still a member of CanU, even though I don't have the program. I'm still a member, right.
Oh,
Roger?
absolutely, a lifetime member. In fact, we're gonna tap your shoulder for some good advice and help coming forward here. I know you're super busy, but it's really exciting. So Mercy helped us get going in those early years, and we figured out how to nominate and make those tough decisions of which kids to include. And like Mercy said, her story was one, like mine, of empathy for the reality of some of the kids that we worked in. And Sister Mac School finds itself right in the middle of that Spence Street neighborhood and Central Park neighborhood. And those are, highly densely populated, challenging neighborhoods in our city. There are lots of dangers for kids. And, our hope was that CanU would provide an opportunity to see something a little bit different. It was interesting to me that, you mentioned the fact that lots of newcomer kids wouldn't see themselves or understand what the university was like. In fact, it has often occurred to me that the number one barrier to a university education is not finance, but it's familiarity. And so, if a family's new to Canada, or if there's not a family history of a university education, then the likelihood of a child going down that path is really small. But Mercy shares this vision that we can provide this world-class educational opportunity to kids from everywhere, regardless of their background.
And even before bringing you on, Mercy, we were chatting a lot about hope and confidence in general, and how important that is in a kid's life. But also, Mercy brought up this sense of belonging, like being a newcomer to Canada, you feel very lonely, right? You may not have those resources. So having a sense of belonging, that you are at home when you're at CanU, or you're at home when you're surrounded by people. What kind of difference does that make in a kid's life, Mercy?
Hugely. Relationship is everything. Building relationship and opportunity to talk about your fears and your worry and your concern is huge. And then these mentors, some of these mentors are also immigrants. So we have teachers who can relate to these kids. We have mentors who can relate to these kids, and they're already up in the university. It gives them hope to see that if they're there, I have opportunity to be there.
Absolutely.
And so that relationship really made them feel at home and belong in Canada as a whole, belong in Winnipeg as a whole. It's bigger than just the CanU. It's connecting into the country to know this country is a place where there are open people. I can trust them and I can share my fears and my worry, but also share my joy and my celebration because they were having a blast and they had a lot to talk about when they came back.
It's so true. Yeah. Now, Mercy, I think back to those early days, and there were so many great kids from Sister Mac's school, and I think of Angel, for example, and she was such a beautiful girl and was around CanU until she moved to another school. And what are some of the other early kids that you remember from those days?
There are so many. There are so many, and even in my building at Gordan Bell High School right now, some of those kids are with me. So this evening, I told them what I've been asked to do, and I have one story that is at the end. I'll read it to you. I'm not going to read it right now. I'll read it at the end for you.
Wow.
But but great kids like Selena. Remember Selena?
Oh yeah.
Selena was the shyest girl ever. Was not engaged in school. Would not communicate her needs. And Selena, we were able to manage for Selena to join CanU. And it took such a short time. Selena was behind the drum. I was
amazing, blown
away to see Selena behind the drum. Gave her such confidence. It wasn't long. Selena started to come. Attendance wasn't an issue then. Her attendance improved. Her confidence improved. She became part of the assembly, student council team.
Amazing.
And assembly. Selena performed with if you remember the Jazz on Wheel. She performed there. And then Jalen, if you remember Jalen.
Yes.
Jalen had lots of behavior. And we didn't know if Jalen would finish even grade 6 when Jalen was in grade 4. But Jalen joined CanU, became a leader, loved the program. Jalen was all of a sudden, Jalen is the one that's telling the kids, hey, I get Jalen to announce when it's about 20 minutes to CanU time. Jalen will go on the PA system and announce, boys and girls, CanU kids, if you could please meet in the office. That's Jalen's voice. Jalen became my leader. He would line up with the kids. Jalen grade 6, he was the one that guided them together for me. And then, Roger, fast forward to high school. We had a principals and vice principals meeting. And I know Jalen went to Tech Fork. I didn't know Jalen had joined their musical dance group.
Amazing.
I see a tall boy in the center. He was the star of the show.
No.
Jalen stood and performed. I bawled. I cried.
Oh, my goodness.
I couldn't contain myself. He finished, and I hugged him, and I said to the teacher, I said, you have no idea how far this grade 11, this is grade 11, sorry, I'm sorry, grade 11. I said, you have no idea how far Jalen has come. And I shared the story with the teacher, and she was like, he was a man. He was a young man coming to the door. Well, CanU prepared him?
Oh.
And Jalen is now graduated. So that's Jalen. And then you have Melanie. I don't know if you remember Melanie.
Yeah.
Melanie is also another. Melanie is Gordan Bell. I spoke with Melanie today. Melanie says to say hi to you. And thank you so much. Melanie now is in the music. Their family bought piano for her.
Wow.
So she's doing piano at Gordan Bell High School, hoping to take it further.
Wow.
there are a lot. Angel want to go into science. Angel want to be scientist. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No, but that's great.
And Angel was the shyest Nigeria
Yes.
newcomer that had just come and had nobody. And we managed to get Angel. We talk about the program. Mom said, please do. She needs friends. She needs to know Canada. We signed Angel. Angel became a star. And Angel wants to be scientist.
Wow.
That's incredible.
My best story was one of the students who hardly came, did not want to come to school. Attendance was just unbelievable. He stayed home and came to school at 2:30 because he wanted to come to, because he was a CanU, and the teachers were outraged. He went to the office to sign in at 2:30. Mercy, you need to talk to your kids because he came only because of CanU. So those are the few stories.
Oh my, those are awesome.
And for those listening to the podcast, when I was prepping Mercy for this, I was like, bring one or two stories of memorable CanU stories, and Mercy comes just like, no, I have so many stories. I wish we could go for another hour because I think you could continue with these stories. They're incredible.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely true. And there's this unifying theme in all of these stories where it's just these kids had this potential, had this possibility right from the beginning. And, whether it was CanU that came along or some other entity that saw their possibility. I mean, that's the factor, right? That sense of belonging and that investment in inspiring hope and confidence that really is that missing ingredient.
Absolutely. And any child that have sense of belonging and purpose, seeing their purpose, will thrive in the education system, will thrive in the community, will thrive in the university, will thrive in their job as a great citizen. CanU has raised, you have Roger, you have Rose, Michaela.
Amazing.
Amazing Michaela. Like, you have impacted in this kid's life and brought a great citizens out of them that they want in turn become leaders for tomorrow. And it started with dedication. It started with just, your heart of exposure, exposing them to some otherwise impossible vision or hope that they would never have had. It's exposure. Somebody exposed Mercy to be where I am.
Yes.
And my benefiting CanU, because we're talking about the kids, but leaders also benefit from this program. Mentors benefit greatly from this program, but teacher coordinators also benefit because it gave me opportunity in my leadership skills. Because I was the coordinator, I was the recruit, I recruited, I organized, I communicated to parents, I did letters going home. All these have added to where I am as a vice principal.
Wow.
All these have added to me. So I benefited as well. So thank you. Thanks to God.
Mercy,
Thanks, Roger.
amazing.
Thanks to CanU, because I am one of your products as well.
Oh, my goodness. And thank you for being an inspiration to me and to all of the CanU people. I mean, Mercy's been working with CanU as a school connection point. She was involved in Lord Nelson School the last, how many years?
Oh, yes. I was there for 2 years, but I left it in great hands because that program cannot stop.
Yeah.
When I left Sister Mark, part of it was aching. I was glad I had the promotion going into admin. But the part of me that was aching was my passion for the groundwork of the school program and all these. So when I went to Lord Nelson, they didn't have CanU, and I asked, and I managed to push through and beg, and they were very considerate, and I was able to have kids started, and you know what, families were thanking us every single weekend. every weekend. They were dedicated. Attendance was amazing. One of the boys wants to be a doctor. And his mom works actually at the university, and he says, you know what, Artem, I don't know if you remember Artem. His name is Artem. Want to be a doctor. There are kids who got so much inspired. And then the following year, I begged for more number. because it kept increasing, and parents were coming to me. And parents were saying, it's not, like, you can only afford you can only provide for 10 kids or 15. Could we have 20? And transportation and accommodation. So I left it in good hands. And I know that it's going to, last for a long time, because this is a need for every community, every school.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I wish we could help every school and in every kid. I was thinking Mercy. So Mercy, it was really funny, Daniel, back in the day, like Mercy was relentless, advocating for the kids in her school, and she was always asking for more spots. In those first few years, there was a handful of kids, and then it kind of exploded. In fact, the funny story about Michaela was selected by you to attend CanU in grade 6, but her friend Sheila was selected in grade 5, and Michaela was so mad that Sheila got selected in grade 5 and Michaela didn't get selected in grade 5. She's never let me forget that story. And Sheila, I think it was because Sheila's older brother Kevin was involved in CanU.
Absolutely.
So you wanted the two siblings to be there, and we allowed that to happen. But it's year after year. When we started our music program, and it was on another night of the week from Sister Mac's normal week or night to be involved in CanU. Mercy said, we'll be in that. We'll provide kids for the music program. And that's where the Jaylens and the Selinas came from. And, just incredible advocacy and relentlessness, Mercy, on just caring for kids behind the scenes, doing everything you needed to do. And I'm so glad you highlighted some of the responsibilities that those teachers have in CanU partner schools. That's one of the reasons why we can do what we do. We could never, as a staff group, take responsibility for all that organization at a school level, but this model of partnering with schools and with great teachers like yourself, who know the families and know the kids and who have those skills to be able to organize them. And then the forethought to ask Jaylen, to give Jaylen the leadership opportunity to be that person on the PA system. That is the CanU way. And you are just incredible at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. It was my pleasure. He was my organizer. And I remember I brought it home and shared it in my family, and my son joined CanU. Remember?
Yeah, Clement. So, and then Clement, your son, was on the track team at the university, and he was so amazing working with the kids. He's a chip off the old block, Mercy. It's amazing. And he was a bus supervisor. Your son was part of that, making sure that kids got safely from the school to the university and back.
Yes, because it's that important. It's that important to give back, whether you're a child or adult. And he realized, he saw, I shared the impact that was happening in my own eyes. In this case, I saw the transformation. I saw the transformation in this kid week after week. And when CanU is coming to an end, it was not fun to see this kid sick. It was not,
Thanks, Mercy.
So, Mercy, you told us at the beginning that you had a story that you wanted to share with us nearer to the end. Do you think now is a good time to share that with us?
Yes, I will share the story with you. And this is handwritten from the students. So at Gordan Bell High School, I have some of the CanU students with me there, as I said. So I'm able to see the beginning from elementary school all the way now in high school. And this is Sudan.
Oh,
Sudan.
Man, Sudan.
Sudan is, so I'm going to read Sudan. This is Sudan. It says, CanU gave me a lot of opportunities and helped me to better decide what I want to do in post-secondary career. It's also a great place to learn new things and make new friends. It really helped me to grow as a person. And I love what CanU does for kids. I enjoyed it so much that I now want to give back by volunteering with them. I want to give kids the same good experience they did for me. Thank you.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Wow. Sudan, that is amazing. Thank you, Sudan. If you're listening to this, thank you for taking the time to write that note, and we will gladly have you volunteer with CanU in some way. That's fantastic. Is Sudan in grade 11 now?
Sudan is grade 11. Yes, she is grade 11. So she will be graduating next year.
You know, Mercy, you may not be aware, but we have now volunteer opportunities for high school students, and we invite kids starting in usually grade 11 to be what we call junior mentors. So they get to be involved with the grade 5-6 kids in exactly the way that Sudan is describing, and they get mentored by university students while they're mentoring and practicing their mentoring skills with the younger kids. So it's kind of a leadership program for high school students, and so they don't have to wait until they go to university. A young leader like Sudan is a great candidate. She is such an amazing. You talk about a gifted, smart, talented, hardworking young person. That is Sudan.
Yeah, and very grateful. And very grateful. He's very grateful.
Well, Mercy, thanks so much for taking the time tonight to join us and to reminisce with us about some of these early CanU memories. This is our 10th birthday coming up in November, and we want to celebrate. We want to have a year of celebration and reflection on what CanU not only has done, but what CanU kind of stands for, and the why and the way that we've done what we've done. And you highlighted some of those principles so beautifully for us tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and it's my honor to be part of CanU, to be there. I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to work with you and to work with CanU to grow, to become the leader that I am. I will continue to give back as much as I can. So thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to CanU Imagine, a podcast dedicated to sharing stories of hope, confidence, and action in Winnipeg youth. CanU Imagine wouldn't be possible without the editing and production help from Tarun and Reetik Kumar, and the technical experience generously provided by the 204 Rise podcast. CanU Imagine would also like to acknowledge the generous support of Rogers and the Ted Rogers Community Grant.